Hey everyone, welcome to Tent Talk, the Farmers Market podcast. This podcast is all about farmers markets, how to increase your market business success, and in our current climate, maximize safety while providing people with fresh food. Farmers markets are essential. Whether you're a farmers market manager or a small farmer or food maker selling at farmers markets, you have found just the right podcast. On today's episode of Tent Talk, we're getting to know market vendor Darian Washington of Oatmeal Company in Austin, Texas, and talking about how she continues to grow her business in these interesting times. Hey everyone, I'm one of your hosts, Bridget Myers. I've spent years as an on-site farmers market manager, and I'm the education coordinator at Farmers Market Pros.
And I'm Kat Fields-White, Director of San Diego Markets, still an active farmers market manager, hauling those barricades, founder of Farmers Market Pros, and host of the Farmers Market Pros community and membership.
And I'm Justine Marzoni-Mead, Tent Talk producer and marketing director for Farmers Market Pros.
Hey, welcome.
And a former hot sauce vendor.
Yeah, and former hot sauce vendor.
That's right. We're talking to vendors today. Welcome back to Tent Talk. Today we're getting to know an up-and-coming farmers market vendor better. Darian Washington is a creator and operator of Oatmeal Company. She and her young son turned her side hustle into a thriving business at Austin Farmers Markets after her corporate job took an unexpected turn. Welcome, Darian.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm grateful to be here.
Yeah, we're so happy to have you. Yeah.
We dragged Darian right out of the kitchen, from chopping strawberries to dazzling on a podcast.
That's right.
Vendors know how to multitask.
That's right.
I'm amazed that you're wearing white in the kitchen because I can't wear white on a normal day when I'm not cooking.
Well, you know what? Sometimes I think about what I'm going to put on, but I do have just two main rules that I follow throughout my entire life. Number one, live life by the golden rule. And number two, wear what you want.
Good for you.
Right. In the kitchen or not, wear what you want.
In the kitchen or not. If it gets too dirty, then I'll go back there and put on an apron. But outside of that, it's pretty simple. Just chop the strawberries. They're already dry, so it's not a whole lot of juice. I don't have to do all
there we go. It's a dried strawberries. That lends a whole new tone.
Yeah.
There we go.
Amazing. Well,
Nice.
Darian, can we start just by you telling us a little bit about your professional background and how you found your way into farmers markets?
Sure. I started my corporate career, I'd say back in 2009. I was the gift card program manager or the gift card buyer for PetSmart in Phoenix. I was there for 8 and a half years. And then I relocated to Austin, Texas, and took up a job with Whole Foods managing their gift card program in its totality. And I was there for 1.5 years, made really big changes, and then got a notice of layoff in January, actually January 23rd or 24th. I was thinking it was year in review time. And they were like, you did a great job, but we're going to have to eliminate your position. And so I took that news really hard, but I also had already started putting this business together because I had been experimenting in the kitchen with oatmeal, so on and so forth. And so once the layoff notice came, they said, well, you have up until March 15th to either find something internally or to transition on to other things. But that was my last day at Whole Foods, March 15th. And so 2 weeks after that, I abruptly left my husband on February 11th, and then I just became a single mom and this woman who...
Let's mix it all up at the same time.
Yeah, just throw it all in together.
It was a lot to go through. Some of my friends have referred to it as a Kundalini awakening. Others are just it's this major transition. For me, for a long time, I've seen it as force change. And then I thought of it, now I think of it as I've gotten through the toughest part, as that was my bloom, so if I consider myself a rose, that's just a part of my bloom, right? So I went through this major transition, trying to figure out what was going to happen. I had already went and got a business license, had the name, set up an LLC. I did all of that in the October before, because for me, this little oatmeal business was just going to be a side hustle, something that would allow me to drive a fancy car, hold nice handbags, et cetera, et cetera. And then all of a sudden it was something that I had to depend on regularly. Okay, well, this is all you have Like, you better put all of your everything into it. Because as a kid, I always grew up being told by my grandpa that if I put the best in, I get the best out. So I started like really focusing on this business. Like, okay, well, if I'm going to do this full time, what do I need? I need a commissary kitchen. I have to buy all of this fruit in bulk. I have to, set up and create these relationships in the vendor world. I have to go out and find a mentor, so all of these things that I looked at as tasks all just kind of fell into place. I received a lot of mentorship from people, local people here in the community who were like, your product's really good. Here's what I think you should do. Even like some of the leadership at Whole Foods stepped up and said, well, what is it you need? How can we help you? And so I didn't need anything tangible, just advice. Like, well, how should I do this? Or what do you think about that? And it all fell in place. Like, I got blessed. And so after that, I just kind of took off running. I was like, this is all I got to do. All I have here is oatmeal, and I'm gonna make the best oatmeal you'll ever taste.
Wow. So what you intended to be your side hustle immediately became your full-time job.
Yes, because I no longer had a husband to, kind of carry that weight while I had a chance to figure it out. There was no opportunity to figure it out. It was like, this is what you have to do, and here's how you have to do it. So you're either going to sit back and let this opportunity pass you by and be swallowed up in pain and grief, or you're going to focus that energy and making sure that you are successful, making sure that you can still maintain all of these things that are on your plate. So I decided that I was going to channel all of this energy and emotion that I had into making sure that this oatmeal business became fruitful. But I needed to be fruitful very quickly, and so that's what I focused on.
Yeah. Kind of a sink or swim moment, for sure.
Oh, definitely sink or swim. But it's different when it's sink or swim and it's just you versus sink or swim and it's you and a child.
Right.
So I had an obligation, not just to myself, but to my son, to really make sure that this was going to be something that we could continue to not just survive, but thrive on.
Yeah. How many years ago was that? That
was last year.
2019.
Last year.
Wait.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So my business, June 5th of 2019 was my first official sale day. So that was 2019.
Wow.
So
incredible.
Really, it's awesome.
This has been that year where every month is a year long.
Yeah, that's right.
That's true. It's so true. I'm like, geez, man. Every month is a year long. You're so right.
Yeah.
So it sounds like your experience at Whole Foods kind of gave you an opportunity to, maybe some mentorship or some advice. Do you think it gave you a leg up on just getting into the food industry or developing your product?
Not necessarily. I think yes, I think it brought the right people to me in terms of mentorship, but it didn't necessarily open any doors for me that weren't already open to me. Does that make sense? The mentorship aspect, I had a lot of people who were in my corner rooting for me and giving me a pep talk. Also, when I left, they threw a party for me and was like, here is X number of dollars to put towards fruit, or, you know what I'm saying? But that was my friends got together and pulled money together. They also were my first test subjects, because before I even knew that I was getting laid off, but when I wanted to do this oatmeal business September, I would take flavors in there and test them out there. So how we actually got started was I used to get samples. And one day I was up in the merchandising department. They had this rack where they put all the samples, all the freebies. So I'm like, ooh, lotion, good food, free food. So I would go up there every Friday and do a little bit of grocery shopping. So my kid and my ex-husband, they loved oatmeal. So I brought home this glass. It was a pretty little jar of overnight oats that you just had to add milk or water to. So I took it home thinking my kid was going to be excited, and he was not. So I said, I brought you this oatmeal. I hope you like it. All you got to do is add milk to it. And he looks at it, and it was like a chocolate, a banana espresso flavor. And he said, no, thank you. He asked if we could make our own. So I said, sure. My only requirement was that we do it overnight, because I was looking for something quick and easy. So we go to the kitchen and we pull out a bunch of spices and we put them all in a mason jar. And the first flavor we created was hazelnut apricot. So I put them in the fridge. He goes on about his night. The next morning, it's Saturday, he comes down, he tries his oatmeal, and he's sitting at the kitchen table, and he's like, oh my God, Mom, this is really good. But my kid is very entrepreneurial and has literally tried to sell fidget spinners at school, bags of chips, candy, like whatever he thinks is going to sell, he's going to try to sell it within reason.
I like it.
Those are my favorite kind of kids that are
Right?
like, hey, you want these stickers? You want this? Yeah,
Right. So he's very entrepreneurial. So I said, okay, it is good. Let's see what we can do. So then his friend comes over and he's like, hey, dude, my mom made this oatmeal. You should try it. So his friend tries it and he says, Miss Darian, this is so good you could sell it. I said, okay. So then I took him to work that following Monday, and I have this friend, her name was Hasmik. Hasmik, I would give her half of everything I had, like half of my breakfast, half of my lunch. And she ate some and she was like, dude, this is really good. Will you make me my own? And I said, yes. And so the next morning I took her overnight oats in there, go off to a meeting, come out of my meeting, and she's in the kitchen with people and they're eating, they're all like, she's giving out samples. I'm like, okay. So then they're like, well, who made this? And she's like, Darian made it. And then it just kind of started from there where people were leaving like empty pasta jars on my desk and they'd stick at the end of my keyboard, or they'd exchange oatmeal for things that I like candy, gummy bears, whatever the case may be. They'd fill the jar with something to get something in return.
The whole trading system.
It was a trading system. We barter like snacks for oatmeal. And I had this friend named Ryan who said, Darian, you could be the next Justin, like the peanut butter. When you figure out how much it costs, I want to buy your first jar. So I was like, I don't know how much it costs. And I'm like, it's not that serious for me. But then it became that serious. And that's how I got my start. Like every time I'd come up with a new flavor within that 2 months, from the beginning of September to the end of October, I take it in there and they'd be like, yeah, this is good. We think it needs this, or no, this is horrible, or don't roll forward with that, but you should roll forward with this. So everything I try, coconut, lime, cherry chai, all of those flavors I take in there. And they'd be like, oh yeah, this is good. Too much matcha, or I like it, so that's how I did it.
So you pretty much had Whole Foods staff as a focus group.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah. They like good
great
food.
group.
They know good food.
Yeah. That's right.
That's great.
Yeah, someone
It
knowledgeable
sounds like you had
about
good friends at work.
Yeah.
I do.
That's good too.
I do. We're still, a lot of us are still friends.
That's great.
And customers for life.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
So transitioning from the corporate world or working for a really big company like Whole Foods, and then now going into the farmers market world. I mean, we've had a few vendors. We had this vendor that actually did overnight oats, and they worked as stockbrokers. So they came from finance, and then
They were financial analysts.
Yeah, and then they came into the farmers market, and I think that was a big transition for them. But do you take anything from your corporate background that you apply to farmers markets, or how has that transition been for you?
So the aspect of what I did being the gift card program manager, I always looked at gift cards specifically as it's a financial payment tool, but it's also a marketing and branding opportunity, right? And people are very attracted to the designs they see on the card. That's what makes them touch it. That's what makes them pick it up and purchase it. And so I took all of that branding knowledge and applied that to what I did here for my business. So I wanted to make sure that people would be able to instantly recognize oh, that's Oatmeal Company. Because when you go to the farmer's market, we all know that it's a slew of tints. They're usually white. And then there's a banner, and you get lost in all of the colors and the smells and the everything. And so I wanted to make sure that when people looked at my setup, they know for sure what it was. And that when they came back, I was easy to find. So that branding and that marketing is what I took away from it. I always try to make sure that my stuff stands apart. My packaging looks different. My flavors are different, and my setup is different. So
your packaging is so amazing. It's the best differentiated packaging ever. I know our listeners are getting this just on audio, so they won't see it. We'll have to post a picture somewhere. But they're pouches, they're plastic pouches, but they're shaped like mason jars, and they're just so clever.
Yeah.
We could not resist. Bridget and I met Darian at a market in Austin, and we all just loaded up.
I think that's why we went over there. We were cruising through the market, looking at everyone's things, and then we were like, "Is that a mason jar? Is that a plastic bag with a zip top that looks like a mason jar. That's the cutest thing we've ever seen.
And it was great for transport. It's one of those products that you can not only sell to locals but to tourists because it's dry, so you can take it on the airplane.
Yeah, we bought a bunch and put it in our
back
carry-on.
when we were all on airplanes. Yeah. Back in the day.
Thank you. I worked really hard on that packaging. It took me a while.
Yeah. It's worth it.
Brilliant.
Looks great. Yeah, so last time we looked, you were selling at 3 Austin Farmers Markets, the Sustainable Food Center's Downtown Market, Texas Farmers Market at Lakeline and Mueller, and 4, yeah. And then
the Green Market.
Yeah.
The Green Market
downtown. I'm sorry, in New Braunfels.
Yeah, that's halfway between Austin and San Antonio,
yes.
Right? Yeah, so yes, like Kat and I said, we were in Austin just visiting. We first discovered you at the Mueller Market. Are you still in all 4 of those markets? And are they operating during COVID, or what's going on there with the markets?
All of those markets are operating during COVID. But with COVID, I've had to figure out how to be a little bit more nimble. I also had people that were working for me, and like they've made the choice to social distance or stay at home, which is understandable. It's the responsible thing to do. So I am currently only at Lakeline, I'm at Mueller, and then this month I will pick up going back to Green. But I'm no longer downtown. But you also, in that shift, in an effort to be nimble, I've also done a lot more wholesale accounts. So you can find us at here at Barrett's Coffee in Austin. We're up at Sanford Sourdough. We are at Dia's Market. So I've picked up a lot of little accounts that should fill in some of those gaps around the city if you can't make it out into any of the markets that I'm currently in. Also,
excellent,
online sales. So now, you can order online and we'll ship it to wherever you're at.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask, because I feel like your product is perfect for online shipping because it's can be transported really easily. It's lightweight. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's just kind of perfect. And then we can order it here in San Diego. Since it can't come to Austin. Yes.
Yeah, because I know, so we have a vendor, Maya's Cookies, that does vegan cookies, and she had done a little bit of online before COVID, and then when COVID happened, same thing. Wasn't in a lot of markets, didn't have staff that wanted to be face-to-face with people for, we've all experienced that at markets, vendors and market managers both. Mm-hmm. And so she went heavily into online. And then she, like you, is a Black woman-owned business, and she got on a list of Black-owned businesses, and her business just exploded. She called me at 6:30 one morning and said, okay, so our usual 200 online orders, I've got 2,000 in my box. Now what do I do? So it was pretty crazy. So I'm wondering, during this time when there's not enough craziness going on, there's also the good news, kind of a silver lining, traumatic, but stuff that needs to be done. There's a heightened awareness of racial inequity, finally a resurgence of activism around that. Have you gotten additional attention from that as a Black woman-owned business and
yes,
on
I have.
lists, media?
I have. We were picked up by a lot of the local media because there is a list here for Austin Black-owned businesses as well. And in the beginning of June, I seen a massive influx in orders, which was a blessing and a curse because in June I was also making a residential move and downsizing. So it's okay, we get this influx of orders. So we go from just barely kind of making it week to week to all of a sudden we're flooded with orders and we don't have enough supplies to meet the demand for the orders we had. So I had to get out there in front of it and say, hey, y'all, we appreciate your business, but this is how it has to work. I'm going to process these orders. It's going to take me 2 weeks to get through all of them because it's literally just me and a 13-year-old. Right. And we're in the middle of a residential move. And although we're grateful for the orders that we've received for your patronage, we weren't necessarily ready to handle that kind of influx in business. All of my customers were understanding. No one said, oh, I need this now, or can I get a refund? And there were some, I had one person who said, this was actually a gift. What can we do? So I said, you know what? I can pack up your order and I'll deliver it to you tomorrow afternoon. So in instances like that, where they reached out and said, hey, I need this sooner than later, then, I was able to be flexible. I also have a tribe of people who stand behind me and help me do this in terms of delivery. So when I reached out to my friends group and I said, hey, tribe, I have these orders and I have to get them out and I need help. They came up. I said, I've already packaged and got them all ready to go. I just need people to drive around the city and drop them off for me. And so I had 3 friends who came through and did that for me, and it was like a blessing. So I was able to get those orders done and make this residential move all within a week.
Wow.
After getting the materials to fulfill the order. So it was good.
Right. So you did it exactly right. And that's what Maya Madsen did as well, was just communicating with your customers and saying, this is awesome that we have this increase in business, obviously unexpected. Bear with us while we work through. Are you still at the point where you're like not staffed at all?
Yeah, it's just me. My son is in Dallas with his dad. It is just me. But I also try to work and back throughout the week so that I have like at least X number of bags on hand. So if I do get an influx of orders, I'm not starting from zero.
Right. Yeah. We're just now seeing some people coming back to either volunteer at markets or we've got a couple of employees that have been off since they were furloughed in March, and they're just now kind of feeling comfortable enough to come back, or at the stage of unemployment that it makes sense for them financially to come back. So we're just now kind of getting staff again. How diverse are your farmers markets in Austin? I mean, do you have many Black-owned businesses there, or Black market managers?
They're not extremely diverse, but it's not for lack of trying. There's not a lot of Black makers in Austin who make food. And for me, at the Lakeline Market, there's maybe 4 other businesses, and the same at Mueller. There's 4 businesses total between the 2 markets. Down at SFC, the downtown market, there were 2 other businesses outside of myself, and then at Green, there's only 1 other Black-owned business that's down there, and they do T-shirts. So it's not very diverse. Because I mean, when you're talking about 80 vendors, only 4 are Black-owned businesses, that's a challenge. But then also it's like, I think there's a high barrier to entry for just to become a maker. Like, you have to have the time. You also have to have someone help you navigate the space. So what I've done is, every time someone comes up to my business, whether they're Black or otherwise, if they say, I'd like to know how you got here, I literally will take the time to help them get to where, they're trying to go to, and do it free of charge, because I just feel like when I don't want to be 1 of 4. I'd like to be 1 of 40 or 1 of 50. I just think that we bring different things to the table, and diversifying the market, whether it's Black owned, Asian owned, Hispanic owned, whatever the case may be, brings more value to the market overall. So I just try to help however I can. And I have helped other people get into the space and go through the permitting process, because it's not very cut and dry. It's not really clear about what you need for what you sell. So if I've already had to walk through this process, it takes me 10 to 20 minutes to help someone else get through the process. Why wouldn't I do that?
Yeah, that's nice of you. We actually teach a class called Vendor 101 that's designed to do exactly that, take people from an idea to, walking them through the permits, because it's complicated. It's a 5-hour class.
Yeah, it's so confusing for people. They don't even know where to start. So I know it's hard for people to, even when they start thinking about it, it feels overwhelming. So having someone they can talk to, that's fantastic, I think.
We're actually talking to, on an episode coming up, the organizers of a market back east on the southeast coast. That's a Black farmers market. So it's all the vendors are Black owned. Yeah, which is kind of an interesting concept. I mean, does that sound like something to you that might work in your area? Or just not enough makers or farmers?
There's a market out here. They would set up at this spot in Round Rock or in Pflugerville, and it was called the Melanated Marketplace.
Yeah, there's one of those in Phoenix. That's what they call theirs as well.
I would be interested in participating. We just need the opportunity, realistically. And I think that if more makers of color would participate, we'd have a very strong presence.
Yeah. Yeah, we're wondering if the markets that are designed strictly for people of color to start in might be a more comfortable environment to start in, and then from there folks could expand into more integrated markets and mix it up, but it might be sort of a comfort level when they're first launching.
So I don't necessarily know if it's due to comfort level, and I'm just going to speak freely. I feel like if
I'd
you
like
have
you
a
to.
product and you are trying to get it in front of people, you need to take whatever opportunity you can get. And it doesn't, for me, it didn't have to be the melanated marketplace. It just needed to be a marketplace.
Sure.
You know, and I think that that's the consensus amongst, I can't speak for every black maker, but I can say that was my own personal thought. Like, whatever door opens is the door I'm going to walk through.
Yeah, that's great. You know? Well, you're in some great markets in Austin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I some really well-trafficked and well-run.
I was able to get into those markets because I was persistent and I built relationships with the people that were running the markets. But before I was at that market as a vendor, I was a customer for a year.
Yeah, that always helps.
Yeah,
you know?
For sure.
Yeah, and you came in. I feel like your product is very, like, you seem very well organized and polished. That's why when you said you started your business in 2009, it was surprising to me because when I saw you, you looked like such a very well established, like long-time vendor, just the way. Yeah. I can't believe it.
I'm a perfectionist. I'm a Virgo, and so that's part of like my personality trait. Like, it needs to look together, even if it's all in shambles. It has to look together.
Yeah, for sure.
You did a great job.
So you're selling online. You're wholesaling some now. So we always talk about scaling's not for everybody. Some people like the lifestyle of selling direct and the extra margin that you get from selling direct, either online or at farmers markets. Other people want to ramp up and scale, and so I mean, are you planning to run the Quaker guy out of town? Are you going to be?
I think it's time for him to leave.
He can go.
He's got to go, right? So are you going to be the queen of oatmeal anytime soon?
Listen, you have to claim it. So I am the queen of oatmeal.
All right, then. There we go.
I do feel like eventually that's my goal, right? Scale, become a national brand. But as currently as just a one-woman show, that's not possible. So I do what I can. But I'm also the kind of person, like I said, when a door opens, I walk through the door. So if an opportunity came to me to scale and to support some of the bigger markets, I would figure out how to make that happen. But I would be very vocal and transparent. And hey, currently I'm a one-woman show. This is going to take me 2 or 3 months to find people who are willing to help me get to that point of being able to produce around the clock in order to fulfill large orders. So, like anyone who's approaching me knows that it's just me and a 13-year-old in terms of, we want your product in our stores. Okay, so then it's just us. Give me a little bit of time to figure out how to bridge that gap so I can get there. Because I feel like my product is worthy of being on their shelves. It's just like, I need sleep. So I can't be working 24 hours a day. It just doesn't work like that. But I can figure out, I'm the kind of person, like, if you present a challenge to me, I'm going to try to figure out how to make it doable. So I don't take it as a no. It's a challenge. Okay, I like challenges. We'll figure this out.
Yeah. When your son is there with you in Austin, is he in the kitchen with you and at the market and just everything?
We met him
He's in the kitchen with me. He's no longer at the markets because of COVID. My son is asthmatic, and so I'm trying to keep him safe. But he is in the kitchen with me 2 days a week, and I pay him to be here. If before COVID hit, he was at every market with me. I would usually give him Saturdays off if his dad called and said, "Hey, I'm coming down. Please make him available." But outside of that, he gets paid to be there, and then we split the tips. So he was like, "Oh, I get to make some money."
He was quite the salesman. We met him at Mueller. Yeah, he was all about it.
He upsold me. I was getting one, and he was like, "Well, if you get 3, might as well get 3." He's like, "Look, they go real flat. They'll fit in your bag. You can take it home." He's like, "Oh, you have kids? What kind of flavors do they like?" Just
He's very good. He's on it.
Yeah,
for sure.
That's important for him because he recognizes that I started this business for him. This was based on his love of food, you know what I'm saying? And I made it with love and purpose for him. And so, it's different when a child has the ability to see something start from scratch, opposed to they're born into something. Like, he understands he has to sell these bags because that's how he eats. He also understands that we are making every single bag with a purpose, and it's always made with love. So when he's talking to you about something he's passionate about because he understands where it started. It started with him.
Yeah, it's such a great thing, I think, for kids. Having grown up in my mother's restaurant when my sister and I were young, and just feeling that, like, passion on the parent side, and then as the kid growing up in there, getting aware, like bringing that awareness to it, and just working harder than everyone else is there because that's my family's business. And
there's a sense of ownership there, and rightfully so.
For sure.
But you end up with such a good work ethic and good work habits when you grow up in an entrepreneurial environment, I think.
Despite the complaining sometimes.
Yeah,
My daughter's working at the market with us now too, and she's doing pretty good. But sometimes she's like, "Oh, I have to stand all day." I'm like, That's what we do.
That's how that goes.
That's
You know,
right.
Are you gonna sell to Whole Foods? Is that part of your goal?
That's a part of my plan. They have a local forager that I've been in contact with a few times. I have to make some changes to my bag, and those changes are expensive in terms of they want either a printed bag or a bag that is stickered. Because of the number of times the bag is touched, that tag will fall off if it's not. And so I'm trying to figure out the best and most financially feasible way to make that happen.
Yeah, and obviously you'd be looking at really large quantities, so it's a process.
So they have a local program, and with that local program, they would just give me however many local stores that I could support. If I wanted to go national or regional, then I'd have to partner with a co-packer and have them pack the product in a distributor so they could get their orders on time.
Yeah, always trade-offs.
Yeah, great opportunity, but again, a lot of work, a lot of investment on the front end.
And probably not as good a margin.
Yeah.
So. Well, if you co-pack it, you might be able to
get the margin still.
Yeah, but it depends.
It's opportunity, but it's great. I mean, I feel like, vendors like you that are just real passionate about it, it's so great to have you at farmers markets because you just bring, that's the purpose of farmers markets. You really are the reason that markets exist, local makers that are really passionate about a food product, bringing it to people in their community. So
people want to see your face when they buy your product.
Yeah.
They want to definitely the story. Every time, anytime I get this question a lot, what makes your oatmeal so special? And when it comes across, it can come across very smug. And I'll be like, here goes this damn question. But at the end of the day, right? But at the end of the day, I understand why they're asking the question. They want to know why I'm out here and why they should spend $10 on a bag of oatmeal. Completely a legit question because you can get oatmeal in the grocery store for $2, So I understand. But I also feel like people, they want to know you. They want to, because once they buy your product, they're considering you a part of their community. They're writing you into their monthly budget on food. And if you're able to stand on what you're selling, then they'll continue to come back. So I have regulars who come back. And if I'm not there, they're sending me a text message or an email. Hey, missed you this week, but I still need my bags of oatmeal. Can I come by the coffee shop and get them? Or can I meet you somewhere? And so those things, although it seems like a small thing, sometimes those things help bridge the gap, or that helps me pay a light bill, or they're sending it off to their mom and their aunt who has a birthday. And so all of a sudden I've got new customers who are ordering online regularly. So making that connection with customers is extremely important because they're championing my business, and they're spreading the word about my business. So I'm grateful for that. I'll answer that question and do whatever it is I need to do in order for you to understand, this business, anytime you buy a bag, you're supporting this woman, her son, and her 2 dogs, and her dreams. Because I left a corporate America and this amazing safety net to follow my dreams and do this. And I'm grateful for that kind of support.
Yeah.
We just need that we need that whole thing on a sticker that we give to people at the conference. Look at this. It's amazing.
Listen,
it's amazing.
I tell people just like this, I'm the second oldest of a lot of children, but I have 6 sisters. And I'm the one who's gotten out there and followed the entrepreneurial dream, right? And so I tell people anytime they ask me well, how did you do it? And this is all you do? A lady was in here yesterday. Is this all you do? Yeah, this is all I do. Aren't you afraid? I am afraid. Every day that fear drives me to do this and give it my best. Anytime I want to do something, so 2 things to note about me. I always take the leap. I don't care what it is. If I think I can do it, I'm going to do it. And how I talk myself into doing it is I always close my eyes and I picture myself as an archer in the middle of a field. And I have this quiver full of arrows and a bow in my hand and a note. And so when I seen myself doing this business, I imagined myself writing down my dream on this note, Oatmeal Company, fruitful. And I visualized myself tying it to the end of my arrow. I put that arrow with that note in my bow and I aim for the stars and I pull back and I shoot. And I hear that when the arrow takes off. And if I don't reach my goal or my dream, if I feel like it's not coming quickly, I just close my eyes and I picture my arrow and it's still flying through the stars, searching for its target. So it hasn't hit the ground, it's still flying, so I still have time. Like, that's just how it
Charlotte
is.
Smith would be so proud.
I'm going to be doing this.
Yes. Charlotte Smith would be impressed.
When
I
you
should get you on her podcast.
Definitely.
Manifest it.
That's
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
That's right.
Just like
Yeah.
you, I grew up in a family full of entrepreneurs. My grandfather owned a business. My uncles were all self-employed. Out of 6 of them, only one works a corporate job. And these were the men who raised me. I had my first job at 8 cleaning houses, and then my first real official job where I actually went somewhere and clocked in at 12. Totally illegal, but I worked in a yogurt shop.
Yeah.
And I
There
was
we
there
go.
every day.
I know that. Bussing tables when I'm 11. I'm like, I don't think this is legal,
Right,
but
you're
it's
like,
fine.
legit, but I like free ice cream and sandwiches, so I'm going to end this money to do this job, right?
I got the day-old bagels on the way out the door, and that was enough for me.
That was a good thing.
Right?
It's fine. That's
So
right.
I always just take the leap. I take the shot. And if I fail, I'll get up tomorrow and I'll give it another shot. I also have a tribe of people behind me they're like, imagine a sea of people who push my little boat along. You know? That's just what it is. So I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
Sounds like you understand your power and the power of relationships. People don't come to the farmer's market because it's easy to park or convenient to shop. They come because of the relationships with the people that produce their food. And you obviously understand that clearly.
Yes, they come because of the relationships. They come for the quality of food. You know what I'm saying? Food that's made with love always tastes better. That's it.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Yep. We always say it tastes better when someone who is passionate about making it and has put a lot of thought into making it, and it's not just being pumped through a machine like someone's making it for you. It always tastes better.
And we get vendors that turn in samples, and they're like, sometimes they're not good. And you can kind of like tell.
You can tell.
And the personality of the person applying that they're maybe thinking that the farmer's market is going to be like an easy get-rich-quick scheme or something like that. And you're just like, no, this isn't. I don't think this is going to be a good match.
Just laughing.
Definitely not that.
Definitely. Yeah.
It's a gradual
There's no
process.
get rich quick.
Yeah.
It takes a lot
It's
of time
gradual.
and a personal, emotional investment. But when people ask me, like, what makes your product so special or what makes your oatmeal different, I tell them first and foremost, I will ask them, have you ever seen anything that looks like this? The answer is always no. What about these flavors? No, I think about it, no. I said, well, those are number 2. That's number 1 and number 2. I said, but most importantly, this product is made with love. I batched all of the spices. I filled that bag. I put that sticker on there. I sealed it up, and then I dropped it in a bin, and I carried it here just for you. That's what makes it special.
And that is legitimately an expensive ingredient.
Yes. All your time and love, that is worth it.
It is worth it. That's what makes it special.
That's right.
Yep.
All right. Well, I feel like we could talk to you all day, and you could just give us all sorts of little nuggets we can take along in our
We need
life.
to get her to come to San Diego once we can have our conference.
That's right. When the
again.
conference is
Yes.
back in real life, to get you out here talking to us.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm coming. Listen, I'm a California native, so you might see me sooner than later.
Oh,
Oh,
good.
great.
Excellent.
Here.
And we loved Austin so much. We always talk about we want to go back there. That was my first
That's
trip
very
there,
cool.
and it was such a
It was
cool
fun.
town. Well, thank you so much, Darian, for your time, for jumping out of the kitchen to talk to us. We really appreciate it. And we'll keep in touch, and we'll, I can't wait for our listeners to hear this awesome episode. You've just given us so much.
That's right.
So thank you, and keep doing what you're doing. We love it.
Thank you. I'm grateful for you guys. I appreciate your time. I hope to hear from you guys soon. See you soon.
You will.
All right. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
That was an amazing conversation. You know, Farmers Market Pros started partly because in other conferences and things that we went to, we never saw anybody really providing much in the way of support and resources for the food makers that are such an important part of our farmers markets. So always trying to connect with great food makers and sharing that information with other folks that are just coming up in the market world or expanding their business. If you're a maker and you want to talk to us about what you're doing, or if you're a farmers market manager that has a rock star food maker or farmer that you want to get on to Tent Talk and let them share their story, reach out to us, connect at farmersmarketpros.com and tell us about them. You can find Darian at oatmealandcompany.com or on Instagram at Oatmeal and Company. She's doing wonderful things, and having had her product, I would highly recommend jumping on and ordering some online. The flavors are amazing. One more thing before we slide out for today, you can catch me online on Zoom at the Tennessee Association of Farmers Markets this week. I'll be on Wednesday the 16th. They've made their annual meeting and educational opportunities really inexpensive this year, which means that even if you're not anywhere near Tennessee, you can take advantage of those because it's all online. Thank you, COVID. You can go to Tennessee Association of Farmers Markets. That's tnfarmersmarkets.org. And for just $25, sign up for the whole 3-day event. There's going to be some good educational opportunities on there. I'll be talking Wednesday about our Vendor 101 program.
Farmers markets are all about community, not just for the shoppers, but for the operators, farmers, and vendors. To hear what's happening from people just like you in the farmers market industry in various parts of the country, or share what's happening in your area, we have terrific conversations and people sharing resources over in our private Facebook group, the Farmers Market Pros Community. Please find us there, answer the 3 qualifying questions, and join the group. You can also message us on Instagram at Farmers Market Pros or send us an email at connect@farmersmarketpros.com. To dig a little deeper and support new episodes and new content, join our new membership program by going to farmersmarketpros.com and click the support button in the top right corner, then click Become a Member. Thank you so much for listening to Tent Talk. Please leave us a review on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you access your podcasts, and tell us and others how you're enjoying Tent Talk. If you are listening on YouTube, give us that thumbs up and be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss our next episode. Tent Talk, the Farmers Market podcast, is proudly produced by Farmers Market Pros, where passion meets profit. Today's episode was recorded and edited by Justine Marzoni Mead. Original music by David Mead.